Well, kind of recap last week. I thought, our guys had the right mindset to just come in and take care of business. I think our defense did an outstanding job in that ball game. Got some sloppy, there towards the end. I think they put on some yards that were kind of didn't mean much, and yet at the same time, I thought the guys, for the most part, the plan was good. The guys were they were really set to focus on playing well, and I thought they did. Two guys in particular, I thought Corey James and Joe Kowalik, they didn't show statistically, but what they did was then allowed Aaron and Max, to get to those alleys, and I thought that was really good. And then our safety play I thought was really good too, and that was good to see. And yet that discipline's got to carry over obviously this week as we get ready for an offense that has put up huge yards and produces against everybody. So we have our work cut out for us there. Obviously offensively, we did what we were supposed to do. We did have to punt once, and that was a little bit disappointing, but Hayden was getting a little tired over there just standing on the sideline, but he did his job and pinned them. As I said, field position was going to be huge in the special teams. Obviously, Jason Oden's knocking the ball out a couple times on kickoff returns was outstanding. And you know what, they came to play, and that was good to see. And in the fashion in which it was done, very workmanlike, and I thought that was a good thing. As I told them in the locker room afterwards, tear off the rearview mirror. That one's over. We've got a short week this week against a team we have the ultimate respect for, not only the way they play the game of football, but obviously what they stand for. And they've done a great job down there. They've stayed healthy. Last year I think was a blip on the radar for them because they had a lot of guys out. This year's not the case. They're really playing well, and it should be a lot of fun, obviously, playing for a trophy, which means a lot for us to be able to, run a sweep of, up and down the Front Range is something that's, it's hard to do, and that's a big thing for us, and obviously we've got a lot to play for. So I'm excited to get back out on the field today and see where our guys are at.
I would like to read into the record that you used a puncher's name.
A puncher's name?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
You used the punter's name.
I did.
Yes, you did.
Okay. I like it.
Slipping up.
I tell you what, obviously it's a short week. I got to tell you, we started work first thing. We actually finished grading everything on Saturday night after the game, and started first thing on Sunday morning. Yesterday, tried to put basically a Monday and Tuesday, or a Sunday and Monday in to one day, and obviously got after it again today, and so you know what, I might be a little rummy on that.
D. Hart was an offensive player of the week, second time, first week now.
Uh-huh.
Now that you've had a whole season to look at him, what was your feeling, what you were getting when he came here? Have you been pleasantly surprised, or did you know exactly what you were getting? After the knee injuries?
Because of the previous relationships, and obviously I knew, I had a great idea as to what we were getting, and yet he still hadn't hit his stride from, coming back off those knees. I think this was the first game I actually saw him kind of really feel like he had his legs under him, which, when you think about the layoff and really that kind of injury, it's usually about 1.5 to 2 years, to get back to where you were. And I think he's starting to hit his stride a little bit. And, the thing I was really impressed with is his ability to one-cut run in that game. And he did that in that opening ball game pretty good. He'll be the first one to tell you he didn't quite have that in that second ball game. and yet, you know what, he was feeling it pretty good in that game. And I think what really helped from that standpoint is him understanding, you know, Treyas was down with that ankle, yet to be determined whether he'll be able to go. So he kind of, you know, for him saying, you know what, I got to do this for these seniors. And I thought he really had his mind was right, and you could just tell that throughout the game.
Is it one of those things where normally players start to wear down as the season goes along, but considering he hadn't played a ton of football by his end of his, or at least ran the ball at Alabama, was without a spring ball.
Yeah, no,
he's really catching his football legs.
He actually, I think, is getting stronger, and then, you know, as a lot of guys are, you know, I think that's a credit to what we do, you know, in our off season, and the guys down in the weight room, Coach Kent and those guys, is the system that's put in is built to endure the season, but rather than that, to actually excel as you get later in the season. And you know, I see a lot of our guys, you know, not losing much and actually getting a little bit better as the season wears on.
Yeah, but he didn't get any of that.
He did not get any of it, and he's still, you know, not. You know, I think he'll be the first one to tell you, but I think he's starting to get his legs back.
And that's closer to the speed that you expected to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Jim, how much do you think that's also just kind of the energy of so much to play for?
Yeah.
You're not a team playing out the string. You've got
Well, you know, I look at it. The first year we were here, I think we finished the season pretty strong. You know, we won some games when, you know, they certainly could have sacked their bats, and I did that for Terry, by the way.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
All right, and then last year I thought we finished, you know, the way you should, and I think that's an understanding of what we expect in our program. So I don't look at it any more extra energy or not. Look, if you've got to have external motivation to go out and do your best, something's wrong, man. It's all driven from within and within your family. So, you know, it should be an expectation, and that's where we want to get, because that's consistently, you know, there's foundational leadership. There's foundational things that are set in stone, and then there's situational. And, you know, if you've got to rely on situational hype to get yourself going, something's wrong. You know, that isn't what we're building here. And it should be a consistent expectation of when you go out, you do your best and do your job and play your tail off. And that's what we want to get to.
He made a couple of comments after the game where he said it was an important game for him. He felt really welcomed by this group, and he even made the comment he did it for guys that he felt was laying down for him. Do you think he's somewhat rejuvenated by the way he was accepted and welcomed into your team? Well,
you know, he'd have to answer that. I just know his character, and I know the kind of energy and you know, guy's smile affects people around him in a positive way, and he's a fun guy to have on your team. So, you know, he'd have to answer those.
Not only that, though, he said that scoring the 6 touchdowns, to me, it means nothing, he said.
Yeah.
Is that a statement of the family kind of atmosphere that you're growing here?
Well, he really how he was brought up. You know, I mean, what this guy's used to success now. You know, I mean, his high school team was one of the top schools in, you know, the state of Florida. You know, he obviously went to a place that won a lot of games, and that's the expectation that we do here. So, you know, in thinking that way, I think that's the way you're supposed to think, right? And if you think the other way, something's wrong. So, but you know, we had a lot of good performances in that ball game. Now, I thought our offensive line played their tails off. You know, obviously for D to be able to do what he did, right? And let's not put our nose down on what those guys are doing downfield as receivers to be able to get to that second level and then finish. So that's good. And then you know, Garrett did what he was supposed to do. He threw it to our colored jerseys, and you know what? Usually when you throw it to your own guys, good things happen, and that was pretty good.
How explicit are you being about take care of your own business and let the other stuff take care of itself, or do you even have to say that?
You know, every day we wake up, we all have clutter, and we decide how to handle it. I think so far our guys have really done a good job of not getting caught up in the clutter, and yet at the same time, don't disrespect the fact that they're doing something special now, and you know what, embrace that, and that's a good thing. So, you know, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, you know, we'll find out on Friday, you know, when we play this game, that, you know what, has some real kind of historical precedence in some things that could happen, and yet it's all for naught if we don't take care of our business this week in practice. So that's why I say I'm kind of excited to get out there today and just kind of see where they're at a little bit. You know, sometimes you'd think, you know, no school, you know, we've got our required study halls and that kind of stuff that we're doing this week, and yet when you get out of that routine sometimes, you know, I mean, they may be laying in bed a little longer. I would. But, you know, so when you take them out of that daily routine sometimes, you know, that has a little bit of a change. And so we've got to do a good job of making sure they're focused on the preparation.
You mentioned a couple times and did it again in your post-game press conference about you called it an embarrassing loss to Air Force.
The worst day of my entire, whether playing or coaching career, was down there in that stadium to see the quit and the disrespect for the game of football in Colorado State University that we showed that day. I think somebody reminded me, I guess I called a timeout like in the second quarter or something, and just, you know, kind of called the whole team over. It's something that, as you guys know, those things burn, but it's not, you know, that's just a personal deal. But I want to make sure that this particular team understands what happened 2 years ago down there. And you know what? Whether we win or not, the effort will be there.
That being said, considering that a lot of the guys were on the field.
You know, I had them raise their hands in the locker room afterwards. There was a handful, not as many as I anticipated, you know, that were on that trip. Right? Because you only get 64. Right. So, but there were guys that were obviously on that trip.
How much has your program grown, and how much did they learn from the lesson of that day to get you to where you are today?
Well, you know, like I said, every outing is an opportunity to get better and to learn from whatever happened. And obviously, I think we've grown since then as an organization. Still doesn't deny the taste of walking off that field. And really, Troy, the guys, the second half, man, they were staring at the clock, snapping it at 1. I mean, it could have been 100. And that was embarrassing. And I hate to keep, you know, but obviously that's probably why I answered and slipped up, because there's a lot of focus right now on this ball game and what it means. And that's all that any of us can do, is prepare for this game.
You've never seen that from your team since. And do you feel your program's reached a point where you wouldn't expect to ever see that lack of effort again?
I would say that that's a fair statement. And yet, never say never, right? You don't know. That's why you go play the game. You know, I really like this football team. I told you that from the beginning of the year. You know, we've got a lot of guys affecting people around them the way you should. And we'll see what happens on Friday.
You have 3 bona fide aspirants for national honors.
Is it aspirant or aspirant?
Aspirant, I think.
We looked and it's both.
It is both.
So whatever you like best, feel free to use.
Well,
Or mix and match.
if you aspire to do do something, I could see where it would be aspirant, right? But then I also get, I don't know. I'm confused on that.
You have 3 guys hopeful of being promoted for national honors. And we know about Garrett.
Uh-huh.
We see Garrett. We see Richard.
Uh-huh.
What has Ty Sambrello done this season
Yeah.
to be worthy of that kind of?
Here's the one thing. I think when you look at offensive production, what is the key to offensive production? It's the guys that are doing their job in the trenches, just like it is defensive production. And as you know, I've often said, they're obviously the most unsung guys. I think when he got back and healthy is when we really took off as an offense. So I think that maybe there could be something to be read into that. I know this. Guy's going to make some money at this game for a long time. And I just know how happy I am to see the way he's playing for us. And he's guy's playing good now.
I mean, interesting, you put Weston up as your choice for Offensive Player of the Year last year.
Yeah.
You've got 3 pretty good. Is Ty maybe the best offensive player that you have, considering what he does, even though he doesn't have stats to go with?
The guys who do the things that don't show up in the box score usually are the ones, there's a reason a guy gets a rebounding, championship is because these other guys are doing some dirty work to keep some other guys off the glass, right? There's a lot of those type of things that, and I think that there wouldn't be anybody on the football team that would be at all surprised if Ty was that guy.
Is it hard sometimes? You talked about the joy of having 3 rivalry games, trophies to play for. Does it diminish the value of any of them to have that many on your schedule?
Absolutely not. And because each one has a special meaning. And I don't know, I at all. I think that they're all 3 of them that we play for have huge meaning. And no one more than another one, because we've got 3 of them, man. And I think about really the first experience of all this was really in the Big Ten. When we played Notre Dame for the megaphone, and I think it was Indiana for the brass spittoon, and it was awesome. Some stuff like that. Louisville, we played Cincinnati for the keg nails. I mean, there's some neat things that go along with that from a historical standpoint, and I talked to Sonny again this morning, just, to try to get some more historical reference on each game as we play in these rivalry games, and he was good enough to give me a little insight it's invaluable.
Is it also helpful this year to have them spaced out the way they are? You opened with one. Wyoming was kind of middle of the season. Now you're wrapping up the regular season with the other one. There's kind of a nice gap. You're not playing 2 in a row anywhere.
Yeah, I guess when you look at it that way, however, as you know, this is the biggest game of the year because it's the next game. It's the biggest game of the year. And when you start putting too many targets on just something, you forget about the other things. And the big thing for us is we are playing the biggest game of the year in Colorado State's history right now because it's the next game. And that's got to be first and foremost in whatever we do.
Can you give us an update on Joe Hansley?
Yeah, I'll give you the injury update. Schlags will be out. And Jordan Vaden should try a little bit, but I would say he's heavily doubtful on that ankle. Nuvali Fapito is probably out. He hurt himself in that game in running into people really fast, and obviously the hit on Joe. He actually recovered pretty darn well. We'll hold him out today, but I would say he's really questionable, just based on the magnitude of it and the fact it may be I think this might be his second, because we held him out of the Boston College game, I think it was, for something similar. So, yeah. So, and what that means, obviously, we've got some receivers stepping up. I mean, they'll get more snaps, and then really in the return game, Preston Hodges and D will have to take that over, and then Deontay will be the third one back there, in the punt return game.
Do you start with Preston since he showed pretty well last week, and just to take some of the workload off D?
Yeah, that's kind of, D probably would have, but then when Treyas went down, right? So that's kind of the way we're going to head into that this week, and we'll see what happens.
Is Treyas okay this week?
I don't know. He's got to be right, and we'll find out on Wednesday's practice, which is actually Tuesday, just so you know, because today's actually, I know it's a Monday, but it's actually a Tuesday practice. And then Perfect Thursday, of course, will be Wednesday, and Friday walkthrough will be Thanksgiving morning. So that's kind of how you set the week, and we're really looking forward to our family Thanksgiving together as a team, and all the families. The Elks Lodge here is been good enough to open their doors to have a Thanksgiving meal for us before we go down to Colorado Springs on Thursday.
So you'll do that on Thursday?
Yeah.
Before you get on the bus?
Exactly.
What time? Would it be early in the day?
Well, yeah, we'll do the Friday walkthrough in the morning, and then we'll load the buses and go to the Elks, and those are great people down there. We've had some team dinners down there before, and they do it up, man. It's awesome, and so I look forward to that, and then we'll bus on down.
When you look at Air Force's offense this year, Pearson's thrown the ball very well,
very effectively.
Maybe it's better than traditionally their quarterbacks do.
Yes.
Which has helped them. But with Owens being out, how do you view their offensive sets right now?
Well, look, I don't know the guy's name, but they had a guy the first year we played him that ran for, I don't know, 10,000 yards in that game, and we still haven't tackled the guy. In fact, he probably got military leave for how tired he was for beating the heck out of us, okay? So whoever they put in there, we got to tackle, and we've got to be sound because they've got very good players. They recruit. Don't let them give you any of that stuff, all right? They go into homes like everybody else, all right? I love Troy's deal, but at the same time, man, I've been in Georgia with him, all right? We've seen him in Texas recruiting the same guys we're recruiting. So, look, he can play that one all he wants, and that's what I love about him. And yet at the same time, it's a matter of being disciplined and playing with your eyes and understanding your keys and do your job. And that's what we've got to do.
But do you view them differently because Pearson has thrown the ball so
Absolutely. It's a new weapon. Anytime the guy can run and throw, and I remember Coach Saban saying this, it's like playing against 12, and that gives you a whole new dimension. And, we've got to do a great job offensively controlling the ball and getting production on possessions, because it may be a game you don't see the ball that often. So it makes the possession count so much more important with what you're doing.
With the way your offense is playing, though, they did it last week. You scored on 9 of your first 10 drives. It was
yeah, but we also had short field because of what the special teams gave us. So,
But you still cashed in on it.
you know, we did have a 97-yarder or something,
Yeah.
right? Or we jumped off sides to make it 99. Is that when they moved it back?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the expectation, man. So we've got to make sure we continue to do that. You know, we'll see what happens. Our fast guys got to play fast, man. That's what it's got to be. Fast guys play fast. Smart guys play smart. And, you know, let's go be 1-0 after this game.
But are you seeing your offense get to that efficiency level, especially recently, that you really desire?
No.
No. Because they were
No.
9 of 10, not 10 of 10?
That's right. So let's I mean, no. You go out to do your best and do, you know, and be 100%. And if you shoot for anything less, well, that's not a good thing.
He set a school record with 698 total yards last week and a season high with 58 points. Is your offense peaking at the right time coming down at the stretch of the season?
No, because we should have had 80, right? I mean, you watched the game. So, you know, that's our responsibility to, you know, have 800 yards and 80 points, right? But, you know, this is a new set this week. We'll see how far we peak this week and then go from there.
You talked a lot about the principles being the same, some similar defensive principles, but what are the big differences in the way Air Force's option runs versus New Mexico's that you guys have?
Well, they obviously do more stuff under the center, and it's, you know, the dive issue, you know, instead of the pistol. Now they run, one thing they've done is they've broken from the traditional Paul Johnson kind of Georgia Tech, you know, they do a lot more formationally, and I think they're able to do that a little bit more too because of this quarterback, you know, so they give you some, you know, unique set of circumstances because of that. But, you know, at the end of the day, guys, they're capable of running you out of the gym. So we got to take care of what we can do and maximize what we do on offense. And I'm willing to bet you that on Saturday morning when we're breaking the film down, that it's not going to be about them, it's going to be about us. Because no matter what, that's the way it is every week.
Are you a little bit more confident that your defense can do what it needs to do, though, based on what you did against Boston College, what you did against New Mexico?
Well, you know, since we've gotten here, we practice against this stuff in spring ball. We practice against it in two-a-days. We practice against it in bye weeks. So when you get there, it isn't just a whole new, you know, set. Now, if your plan works, it works. And if your guys execute it, they execute it. And they've won some games now, you know? So, you know, I'm not going to sit there and listen to them saying how, you know, woe is me, because I've seen their facilities too. They're a heck of a lot nicer than ours. So, you know, I mean, I'm not, look, I'm not getting into that, but I do know this. When you watch these guys play, you get a true appreciation of what their commitment is. And you know what? You watch them play, and we've had, obviously now we got the Army game, the Navy game. Watching those games on film, I feel pretty good about our country being in pretty good hands because they play the way you should play. And you know what? I feel comfortable that our country's pretty safe. Okay?
Yeah, Coach, if I could just indulge you for a quick question.
Sure.
Upcoming decision by Dr. Tony Frank regarding the possible new stadium.
Uh-huh.
I'm 90% certain you're on record as favoring that. Can you reaffirm that stance? And more importantly, can you discuss what, if he decides to favor the new stadium, what that could mean for your program and for recruiting?
Well, I don't look at it as I've said from the start, I don't look at it as a boon for the football program. This is for the university, this city, and the state. There's a lot of great things that can come along with it. The use of the facility, not just for football, but all the other things that go along with that to attract people to your campus. And if it happens, I think it's really good. And yet we'll find out, when that occurs. And it's an opportunity for us to show off a great place, and that's Colorado State University. And I think this is just another step in that direction. Okay.
It's as I've said, last couple of weeks when you guys asked me after the game, it's a feeling none of us have had here. And the program hasn't had that kind of feeling, I guess, in a long time. So it's very special. It's something I'm very humbled and honored to be just a part of. It's something I'll take with me forever. Just knowing, where this program was in the '90s and early 2000s, and that we've kind of brought it back to that point. It's very, it's very special for all of us. So.
You've got teammates who are getting honors, awards. Start looking. Lettenkoff finalists are coming out later today. Richard very will be on that list.
Yep.
Tyson Brayla is getting ready to be hard. So many others that are player of the week. Just is this offense really taking off right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think, towards about the middle of last season, I think that's when it really started to kind of explode and take off, like you said. And I don't think, we've really skipped a beat since then. Everything, when we lost Capri, everybody's kind of worried about our running game, how that would go. And obviously, as you guys saw all season, D's filled in nicely. I mean, he's done everything for us that we, could possibly want out of him. So he's been a great player for us. And, Richard and Ty, they should both be on those lists. So, if they're not, I'll be upset. But, there's nothing I can do at the end of the day. But they should both be up there, because without them, I don't think our offense is as successful as it has been. And, without Ty, I don't think maybe I'm as comfortable back there as I have been. So it's always good knowing your blind side is going to be secure, no matter what happens. So.
I know you get your stats, you've got your records, and Richard the same way. Ty doesn't get any of that.
Yep.
So who is the best offensive player on that team?
I'll say the whole line in general. That's kind of the key. And me and Ty we've gotten in arguments about this, about what is more important. He'll bring up Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, all those guys, and then I bring up the linemen, Logan Mankins, all of them, and I'm saying, without those guys, those quarterbacks don't do anything. And you guys have seen, Cam Newton in his first year, he had a great season, and now he's kind of getting beat up. And you have to have a line to be successful, and I've said that, from the start. And so me and Ty go back and forth, kind of saying which is more important. But, like I said, without a line, you can't do anything, run or pass. So, I give it to all five of those guys up front.
In your eyes, really, what does Ty bring to this team?
Well, for me personally, he brings, a kind of a security blanket. I'm never, no matter what happens, like I said, I'm never worried about what's going on my backside. It's something, when you can take that part of the game out of it, calms you down a lot, gives you one less thing to kind of worry about, I guess. And so, and he brings that leadership too. He's kind of been the guy, when we're coming out on the field as a team, he kind of breaks us down. Everybody, kind of looks to him. He's filled in nicely for Weston. That was something Weston did last year. And, obviously I'll do that with our skill groups and everything. But, when we get together as a team, Ty kind of stands up and, he'll give his speech and say, what he wants to say to get us going for that day. And, he does a really good job with it all. So.
You addressed this before, but did you watch the game Saturday night from Laramie, and just in general the feeling you guys have of not having your own destiny in your own hands?
Yeah, I did watch it. There's a lot of people that watched it, but like you said, it's kind of tough. But at the end of the day, we got to do what we can only control what we can control, and so we're going in Air Force expecting to get a win. That's all we can kind of worry about right now. I'm sure we'll kind of meet up Saturday and watch the game. Obviously hoping for a Boise loss, but at the end of the day, all we can do is go out there and get a win this Friday, and hope everything works out in our favor. So.
Does it almost help that you guys play a day before them, so you don't even nothing that happens in that game can have an impact on your game?
Yeah, I do. I kind of like it. I kind of like being able to you know, if we go out there and get a win, it's really, you know, we're just hoping at that point for Boise to lose. It's kind of, you know, something we'll be able to relax this weekend and kind of get our feet under us. And then, you know, if we do get to play in the Mountain West Championship game, that gives us, you know, an extra day to prepare. And, you know, as you guys know, preparation is really everything. So, but, you know, like you said, it's kind of a different feeling. It's a short week, so this week is kind of hectic. We're kind of moving practices up, mixing practices together, but it's going to be fun, I think. So.
You guys scored on 9 of your first 10 drives, and Jim just sat here and told us it wasn't good enough. Just guys were perfect. How good is your offense right now? I mean, do you feel like you're at your high point?
Yeah, I think that just says kind of how Coach Mack is. He wants everything, and he expects it to be perfect, and I think that's kind of what he's you know, kind of programmed us all to think that way. We all expect to be perfect, and I think that's why we're having the success that we are having. And you know, our offense, I think, like you said, we kind of are at that high point. You know, I don't think, as I said earlier, I don't think we really skipped a beat from about the middle of last season to now. But you know, I think we are, you know, hitting on all cylinders right now, and when we do that, we're a pretty hard offense to stop. So.
It sounds as if you are being reminded of the game 2 years ago down at Air Force. How are you being reminded of that?
He's brought it up a couple times, and you know, I saw on Twitter that he said, you know, that was his most embarrassing day, and he told us that yesterday. And you know, for really, that was kind of for, you know, a lot of us, that was a lot of our most embarrassing days, I guess. You know, they kicked our butt. At the end of the day, that's all you can say. They ran all over us. We didn't really execute on offense. It was a bad day. You know, they were a better football team, and you know, it showed. And so it's, you know, we're hoping to go down there and it not be the same result. So.
Did you as a team quit?
You know, I don't know. I honestly, I was hurt, so I don't really know what was going on at that point. I was in the locker room and everything. I don't know what guys were doing. I mean, I don't think, since I've been here, you know, since Coach Mack has been here, I guess, I don't think we've been a team that's quit, you know, in any game. But, you know, that was definitely an ugly game, and, you know, one that we all kind of want to forget about. So.
He felt that you guys did quit. What lessons did this team learn, and how does that help this program grow?
You know, I think that whole season kind of taught us a lot, because there was a couple games that we felt we could have won, and then it kind of, you know, lingered on into last season early on with those, you know, 2 games that we lost right off the bat. And I obviously took a lot of blame for that, as I should, but I think there was a lot of things that we took from that season and early on last season that, you know, have to finish every game, and that's why Coach Mack, you know, talks about the details with everything, because there was a lot of things in those games where it was 1 or 2 plays that we missed that could have won us the game, and our records could have been completely different. So I think that was what we took out of it is, you know, don't take the little things for granted. Everything matters, you know, no matter what you're doing. So.
When you watch what D did this week, go with the fact that he didn't have a spring ball, he didn't go through Rams with you guys. Do you feel he's finally getting his football legs back, his mentality back?
Yeah, and I think, you know, he kind of, I guess he kind of trusts his body now. You know, I don't want to say, you know, I know how he was feeling about his knee or anything like that, but I think anytime you have a, you know, injury of that, you know, magnitude, I think there's always kind of a little bit of doubt. You know, I had it with my collarbone. You know, there was always that little bit of doubt until you take that first hit, and so I think now you know, he fully trusts what he can do out there, and you know, he put a spin move on a guy Saturday that, you know, I haven't seen all year, so that was impressive. You know, once it happened, we all, you know, the whole line kind of turned around like, whoa, and you know, it was cool to watch. So I think he just, you know, he finally, I don't think he had to learn too much with the offense. Just really the terminology was all it was, because it's really the same offense Coach Mack ran down there, just different, you know, words that were used for different plays or different concepts, and so he picked that up quick. He's very intelligent when it comes to all that football smarts. He's very smart, so you know, I think he finally just kind of trusts himself, and you know, he's willing to make those plays. So.
He made some interesting comments after the game, talking about, you know, it didn't mean anything to him to score 6 touchdowns. He did it for the team. Felt really welcomed by the seniors. Felt like he was playing for guys that he felt would lay down for him. Mm-hmm. How good of a teammate and team concept guy is he for this team?
You know, I think that kind of just says it all. He's one of the more humble kids I've ever been around. I haven't heard him talk about himself once since he's been here, and you know, he comes from one of the more successful programs in all of Florida, all the country. And then, you know, coming from Alabama, everybody knows what they've done. So he's got all the right in the world, I guess, to be, you know, one of the more cocky, you know, players that we've had, and you know, he doesn't at all. He's very, you know, quiet, He's very humble. He never, like I said, I've never heard him talk about himself and kind of, talk himself up. He does everything, like you said, for the team, and he'll be the first one to obviously tell you that. And so it was kind of cool. He came up to all of us seniors at the end of the game in the locker room and said thank you to all of us. And so, it doesn't feel like he's been here for 4 months. It feels like, he's been here my whole career. So it's been fun playing with him this year.
Are you glad it's a short week?
Not really, because it takes a day away from your kind of preparation and film watching. But it will be kind of nice, I guess, to have a weekend to kind of watch college football and be able to, sit down. And because the first week in CU we got to do that, and it was kind of fun. I haven't been able to just sit down on a Saturday and just watch nothing but college football, except for the bye weeks, and so it was kind of fun. So I'm excited for that aspect of it, I guess, but. It kind of sucks, to be honest, because it takes away, like I said, a day of preparation, and from my position, that's you have to have a ton of preparation to be successful. So.
Does it help to not have classes to allow you to hit your iPad a little bit more and get in that extra prep?
Yeah, that definitely helps. And the coaches, they have us here. We'll be practicing and going through meetings and having film, pretty much all day. So that'll help a lot to kind of get what they're thinking when they come out of their meetings. We'll be here, so they'll immediately get to talk to us and kind of go through things. So that helps a lot, not having school. So.
With senior day, last home game, all of that, is there any danger of this game seeming to be anticlimactic to you?
No, I don't think so. I think we all know, our goal is still, it's still very achievable. Obviously, we know what needs to happen. But I think that is all, everybody's really focused on. What happened last Saturday, it's, in the back of everyone's mind now. Even though it was bittersweet for most of us, it's something, we're moving on because, our goal at the beginning of the season was to be Mountain West Conference champions, and that's still, very achievable, like I said. So, we're all, focused on Air Force at this point, just moving on. So.
Variation on that same theme, though, it's almost unfathomable you could be 11-1 and not be in the conference championship.
Yeah, it'll, if that happens, it'll suck, to be honest. It won't be fun. It's something, we'll look back on and obviously wish that we had played better against Boise. But, it's something we learned from. And, who knows, if we don't lose that game, who knows if we don't have a slip up, later on in the season or something. I think, we all took, because we all, fully expected coming into the season we had a chance to go undefeated. And I think that kind of made everybody take a step back and focus and really dial in. So. They're very disciplined in everything they do. We've seen on films when they make checks, they flow to those checks. They'll get to their gaps. They're very sound in everything they do. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and they're not afraid to play man. That's something we've seen on film. That against pretty much every team that they've played, they've shown a lot of man coverage. So that shows they have a lot of confidence in their DBs and what they're doing. And that's something that we have to kind of take as a challenge if they're going to man up with us. So.
We have some Coach McElwain in this too, but if Dr. Frank does recommend a new stadium building on campus, what could that mean to this program?
That'll be huge. I think it's something to kind of keep up with the other programs moving forward. I think that's something that we need because all the other programs around the country are constantly trying to get better, and that's something that you'll be able to show recruits when they come on their visits. Look what we're doing here. Look what we've got now. We're taking the right steps to become those top programs or compete with those top programs. So it's something I think we kind of need to keep moving forward and going in the direction that we want to go.
Do you think more students in good games if they just had to walk out of their dorm and walk to the middle of campus as opposed to going 3 miles away?
I don't know. I gut instinct would say yes because they don't have to go very far at all, like you said. But I really don't know. I know personally, if I was on campus and wasn't playing or something, and the game is right there and I can hear the crowd, everything, I would want to go. So, but I really don't know. I guess. So.
You've heard from other quarterbacks when you've broken their records. Have you heard from Bradley?
No, I haven't. No, but. I'm sure. I know he's a pretty big businessman. Where he's at, so I'm sure he's busy. And I know he was there against Boise last year, and he did. He came down and talked to me about that. So it's something. I'm not. There's no hard feelings, I guess, there at all. So, yeah.
What went through your mind when Steve Cragthorpe recommended you check this program out?
It was. I guess at that point I didn't have any offers, so I was really just trying to check every program in the country out at that point because I was going into my senior year with nothing to really, even talk about. Nothing was on the table for me. So, and then once I looked, I saw, the tradition that was here, with Sonny Lubick, and then Coach Fairchild was obviously trying to build that back up and keep it going. And obviously we struggle, but, it was something, I guess at that point I was really looking wherever I could get a chance. So.
That's a great question. Probably one, this is the smallest O-line we face, so that means that they're faster as far as in the trenches. They're more disciplined than New Mexico. I have to say they do a couple of different option schemes that really that makes you have to be in the right gap at the right point at the right time. So, I mean, and one key thing that I seen on film, they get upfield very fast. So if we don't execute from the D-line all the way up to secondary, then it'll be a long day for us.
Be more of a linebacker. More of a linebacker.
Yes, I would say. I mean, me and Kevin Pierre-Louis, I mean, we talked about it. I mean, we kind of make jokes. I mean, because we're pretty big, and coaches try to make jokes because we always in the box. So, I mean, I consider myself in certain plays a linebacker, and I think that's one of the goals I'm trying to reach too. So.
How was it you guys were so successful at kind of playing both the run and the pass against New Mexico? Because certainly DBs did have a lot of tackles, came up and made a lot of tackles, and you didn't really get beat for deep passes. That's always been the danger in the past.
Just like Coach Mack said, I mean, preparation. I mean, that's pretty much the key point of that. I mean. He knew it, and as a team we knew that we can execute, but it was based on preparation and how far and how much are we going to want to execute. So I mean that just took a toll in practice, and then we just pretty much finished the whole game. So
is that just reading your cues better and stuff, film study and other things to be able to read things faster and react quicker?
Always. Just putting yourself in that right position when you're watching film on our iPads. Just honing in on every detail, just little things, pretty much that pretty much sets making the tackle or getting beaten coverage. I mean, small little details. So I think that was the key point of preparation.
Jim has made a point of saying that 2 years ago when you played Air Force, it was the most embarrassing game he's been involved with. He felt you guys quit. What were the lessons that this program learned from that game that helped you grow forward?
Great question. One thing I know since I was a freshman, we didn't really have leaders. We didn't play as a team. We didn't prepare hard enough. We thought we were just gonna walk in and win. And like I said, just leadership, and I think Coach Mack hit it on the nail. I mean, we didn't do a good job, and honestly, as a defense, I think this week we're gonna watch at least 5 or 6 plays of, you know what I'm saying, how bad we were and how good we are now from last year to 2 years ago, and just see how do we do those things wrong. Look at the details and how do we prepare that week, or how can we change that week, or how can we change the now that Coach Mack uses, the now. So it was horrible. He knew it was horrible. We knew it was horrible. But we won last year, and I think if we prepare hard enough and execute, we'll win this year.
Does it diminish the value any of rivalry games when you play 3 of them a year, as opposed to just some schools that have one?
Good. I take it. I love playing rivalry games. I think the team does too. I mean, it gets us even more prepared, and it, as a football player, some people play for something, and I think that's the game of football. Sometimes in one game you're gonna play for somebody. It might be either breast cancer, your little brother, and if you don't have anything to play for, you can play for the trophy, and that's one thing that we don't take for granted as a team, and we realize what's at stake, and we try to do our best to win.
How meaningful would it be for you guys as a team to have all 3 trophies, sweep the front range, as Coach Mack said?
It'll be great. I never thought coming here I would be able to do that. So, I mean, it'll be great not only for us, but the legacy or the history we can write, or the alumni that's watching from wherever they are from around the United States to see how the Colorado State football team is doing.
How big a boost is the addition of Preston Hodges been for your defense in general?
Preston Hodges is a great player. We lost Shaq Bell last year, and some of the options, he was that guy that made pretty much the tackles. And Preston Hodges, he's still young, but with a couple of the other DBs and linebackers, we try to lead him on and give him great leadership. And what I like about Preston, he asks a lot of questions for me, and I try to help him the best way I can. And he plays fast, and he has no doubt that he can be one of the best players on the team. So he's a great player for our defense.
Any thoughts about the team Thanksgiving dinner? Obviously you've done it before as a team.
I just hope the linemen don't eat all the turkey, man. I hope Max is the smaller guys first, you know, because every time we eat pots or something, I mean, they always go first and they eat all the food. So I hope the O-line and D-line don't take it all before I do.
The secondary goes first.
Yeah, I hope so.
Are you glad it's a short week?
Kind of yes and no. Yes, because it's one more step to play another opponent, but no, because it's just more liability. You have to hone in on preparation. It's kind of like losing a day, like daylight savings. You miss up on sleep. You want to sleep sometimes, but you can't because the time changes. So it's one of those things that you take it as like, man, I wish we had that day, but you can't. But so, I mean, we just look at it like Max says, the now, and we're gonna try to prepare in these couple of days we have and try to go win this ball game.
Does it help, though, this being a short week, that the principles you used against New Mexico will carry forth in this? So it's not like completely different offenses. You don't have to regroup. It's carrying.
Right.
Does that help?
Oh yeah, it helps all the time. I mean, it just helps for our eyes and what schematically what do we have to do on defense. It helps also like just how fast we have to play and how much intensity we have to do at practice. How much intensity we have to coach or practice during the practice. So I mean, that's pretty much the preparation deal that Coach Mack talks about us again. Is just pretty much how much are we gonna build in these couple of days. So
We repeatedly asked about the feeling of helplessness, knowing that you guys could be 11-1 and possibly not even be in the conference championship game. Are you watching those Saturday night games, and how are you following the rest of the scenario?
I've watched a couple of the games, and I see a lot of great teams, and that just shows how much the Mountain West is competitive. I mean, Boise, Nevada, Air Force, other teams like that. I mean, it's competitive, and Utah State as well. I mean, those are the teams that pretty much they want the same thing that we want, and Coach Mack always tells us it's not going to be given to us. So right now we're going to try to work on Air Force, win this game, and try to see what happens. I mean, it would hurt for our team not to go to the conference championship, but if we don't, that's okay. We use Boise as a learning experience, and pretty much it turns out the more success we can have next year, and it's a learning experience for those young guys to see how much a game costs, and for me personally, just how much a game costs. And Coach Mack always tells us the game is won in inches, and I think that's one of those inches that's part of our season in the climb. Is one of those inches that we messed up, and now we just have to regroup and climb and take a step further, and that's Air Force.